She looks up at him, not with anger, but calm strength, and says, "You always thought I had nothing. But I always had something you couldn't see." That line quietly flips the entire narrative. The woman he had once dismissed as weak and dependent is now revealed as wise, independent, and full of hidden strength. It's not just a twist in power, it's a revelation of character, dignity, and deep emotional grace. David Langston was the kind of man whose name echoed through glass towers and glossy headlines. A tech mogul before 40, a rising star in the investor world, and the face of innovation in every magazine spread. His suits were always pressed, his watch imported, his smile strategic. But behind the closed doors of his luxury office, David carried something colder than ambition: detachment. Especially from his roots. His mother, Evelyn, lived in a quiet corner of a local nursing home. Not one of the luxurious estates his colleagues placed their parents in, just a simple facility. Functional. Forgettable. David visited her once a year, usually on her birthday, often checking his phone between fake smiles and short hugs. To him, she was no longer a mother. Just an aging obligation. This time, the visit was shorter than usual. After a brief hello, he signed a stack of forms without reading them in full. One of the nurses mentioned a new budget-friendly care center, and David nodded, pen already in motion. Cheaper sounded good. She wouldn't even know the difference. Narration. To him, she was a burden. A background character in his own success story. But once, she had been the entire story. In a tiny apartment above a laundromat, Evelyn raised her son with quiet strength and tired hands. She worked 2 jobs, one at a diner by day, the other cleaning offices by night. There were weeks when she skipped meals so David could eat. Nights when she stayed up sewing torn uniforms because she couldn't afford new ones. She was offered comfort once. A wealthy man, kind, stable, had asked for her hand. He offered a better life for her and David, but Evelyn had seen something in his eyes. Possession, not partnership. She declined, afraid David would grow up feeling like someone else's charity. Narration. She gave him everything. He gave her distance. At the nursing home, Evelyn sat quietly by the window, her frail hands folded in her lap. Through the half-open door, she heard David's voice. "Just keep her comfortable. I've got meetings. No goodbyes. No warmth. Just cold efficiency, like signing off on an old computer." She watched from the window as his black car pulled away, swallowed by traffic. Her eyes glistened, but she didn't cry. Instead, she reached for her nightstand and pulled out a yellowed envelope. A letter she had written years ago, a will she never sent. She opened it, read the faded ink once more, then placed it on her lap like a reminder that the story wasn't over yet. Years ago, Evelyn worked as a maid in a mansion owned by an old, widowed millionaire named Mr. Halston. He was gruff, alone, and mostly ignored by the world, but Evelyn treated him with kindness. Not because he was rich, but because he was lonely. One winter, when he fell ill, she stayed with him even off the clock. Read to him. Made him soup. Held his hand when no one else would. He died quietly one morning, but left behind a letter. And a trust fund. "You remind me of the daughter I lost," he'd written. "Let this be my thank you." Evelyn never touched the money. She lived simply, never wanting to seem greedy. But now, after being discarded like an afterthought, something inside her shifted. Narration. She never needed luxury until she realized her dignity had been priced out. It happened on a Tuesday. David was in the middle of a board meeting, pitching expansion to a group of impatient investors. That's when the doors opened, and a sharply dressed man stepped in. "Excuse the interruption," he said calmly. "I represent Evelyn Langston." David blinked. "My mother." The lawyer smiled. "Correction, your company's second-largest shareholder. The woman you just downgraded. She now owns 40% of this building." Gasps followed. David's world blurred. Documents flashed before him, proof, signatures, filings. All legal. All hers. Flashback. Evelyn had invested every cent of her inheritance into David's company, quietly, under an alias. By the time David arrived at the new care facility, it was evening. The place looked more like a resort than a home, lush gardens, fountains, peaceful walkways. And there she was. Evelyn sat on a bench beneath a blooming tree, feeding the birds. Her posture was calm, regal. Not like someone who had been abandoned, but like someone who had chosen to rise above it. She didn't look surprised to see him. Just ready. He walked slowly toward her, unsure of what to say. She looked up and smiled softly. "You always thought I had nothing," she said, her voice steady. "But I always had something you couldn't see. Here's the final portion of your story, continuing in the exact tone and style, warm, cinematic, emotional and structured paragraph-wise for slideshow-style visual storytelling. Underscore 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 1 o'clock, 8:30 to 9:30, redemption attempt. David stood there, swallowed by silence and shame. His $1,000 shoes didn't make him feel grounded. His tailored suit felt too tight. His voice cracked as he finally spoke. "I didn't know, Mom. I was stupid. I thought I was protecting myself, from pain. From expectations. From you." Evelyn watched him carefully, her face unreadable at first. Then she smiled, a soft, tired smile. The kind only mothers give when they've seen every version of their child and still choose grace. "It's not too late," she whispered. "Not to protect what really matters." There was a pause. And then, almost casually, she patted the empty bench beside her. "Sit." The tea's still warm. For the first time in years, they sat side by side. No boardroom walls, no calendar alerts, no guilt. Just 2 cups of tea, a gentle breeze, and the quiet echo of what could still be saved. Narration. He spent his whole life building an empire. But it took one broken woman to rebuild his heart. The sun dipped low, casting golden streaks across the garden path. Evelyn sat in her wheelchair, a blanket draped gently over her lap. And behind her, David pushed slowly, matching her pace. No phones. No press. No audience. Just a mother and her son, finally walking the same path. As their silhouettes stretched in the fading light, the past seemed to settle. Forgiven. Not forgotten. But finally at peace.